We all have one thing in common, one way or another, and it's something we all have. Fear. But what do we fear? Loneliness? Aging? Suffering? The end of our trivial existence? Tonight, we are going to be discussing fear in its purest form. Creepypastas. Not 10, not 15, but 30 of my favorite creepypastas. All of them lost episodes, or creepypastas in general. They're all mixed into one beautiful top list. Without further ado, let's start. Number 30. Plankton Served. One course meal is considered one of the worst episodes in the entire SpongeBob SquarePants series, mainly because in the episode, Mr. Krabs drove Plankton to having disturbing nightmares and drove him to attempt suicide. It is also one of the 7 episodes that were posted onto the internet before it aired. The author went to the Nickelodeon page and refreshed it until the episode finally came up. However, it was different. The episode was called Plankton Got Served. It was eventually changed. The episode ran as normal as a one-course meal, but the ending was altered. In the ending, Plankton decides that he can no longer go living, due to him being constantly bullied by Mr. Krabs and Pearl, due to his big fear of whales. Plankton lays down on the street, waiting for a bus to run him over. SpongeBob sees and tries to convince him to continue his existence. Plankton refuses, as SpongeBob goes to the Krusty Krab to tell Mr. Krabs about what's happening. But then, a red bus comes speeding and runs over Plankton. This is where the alterations begin. Plankton wakes up in the darkness. He begins to see illusions and visions of whales coming after him. Plankton's family members are suddenly seen below and tries to convince him to jump down to the abyss before him. But above, there is a beam of light. This is obvious. This is heaven and the red abyss. Plankton decides to jump down and get consumed by the darkness. Then the episode ended. Number 29. The dawn is your enemy. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with Adult Swim, and I'm pretty sure you are familiar with its logos. There was a logo that would air right after Cartoon Network turned off and switched to Adult Swim, called The Dawn is Your Enemy. There is a reason why they don't air it anymore. Here is the original 10-second version. Creepy, am I right? This was made purposely creepy to scare off kids from watching Adult Swim. But on the last day that it aired, for some reason, for whatever reason, it played in its entirety. Here is the full bumper. Turn your volume down now.
What the hell was that?
Number 28. Slenderman. Ah, a classic. The Slenderman is a being, male in appearance, who is a man with extremely long slender arms and legs. He also appears to have 4 to 8 long black tentacles that protrude from his back. Though different photographs induce his physical and therefore it is theorized he can contract these tentacles at will. He's a alleged paranormal figure, perched to have been in existence for centuries, covered a large geographic area. Believes in Slender ties appearances with many others around the world. Now, you might be asking, why is he so high up? Well, he is highly, highly overrated. Many people make videos, fan videos, talk about him. It's insane. The movie didn't even help either. In fact, it made the creepypasta worse for me. This creepypasta would be higher on our list. However, we're keeping it on 28 because it left a big impact. Number 27, 1999. The writer of this story used to watch a show that he would watch time to time from, well, 1999. The show was extremely low budget and only aired a few episodes. One of the notable episodes is Playing with Scissors. In the episode, a hand constantly stabs a smaller hand, and you hear a muffled child's scream. As you can see, most of the episodes are extremely dark. Another episode, called Mr. Bear's Cellar, is about a man who dressed up and called himself Mr. Bear and did unbelievable things. I can't even mention them here. You can find more about the story in the link in the description. The blogger made updates more and more about the show 1999, but he hasn't updated it in a while, and the story also drags on quite a bit. That is why I think it should be on number 27. It is in desperate need of an update and something exciting. Number 26. A Nazi's Goatman Story. 11 teenagers went down in the Alabama woods and hung out for one night and one day. Their time, however, gets weird when they start to smell cooked blood and singed hair. On the night, they all hung out to eat dinner, but the food was portioned out for 12, not 11, and they realized they weren't alone. Deep within Alabama's woods were filled with goatmen, shape-shifting beasts of Native American legend. When the 11 teenagers went home, the goatmen followed them. To this day, we don't know what happened. Number 25. Honora Petrova. Honora Petrova was a figure skater in the United States until she came across a Wikipedia in her name. Everything was going well, but then Honora decided to edit her Wikipedia page to guarantee herself a win. So the page was filled with narcissism. Her life soon went out of control, her family died, and then the Wikipedia page updated itself, saying Honora Petrova is a pathetic little orphan. Honora's life was eventually snuffed out when the page updated itself yet again and pronounced her dead. It was never clear who updated the Wikipedia page. Number 24. Turn the Crank. We can all agree, at one point or another, we were rebellious to our parents. This is an example. The story follows a young boy who would watch Adult Swim every night. He knew it was strictly forbidden in the house. Soon later, her mother finally caught on. The mother and the boy argued for a long time until they vowed to never watch Adult Swim again. The vow was broken a week later when his dad came over to visit. He knew his dad would let him do whatever he wanted, so he took advantage of that fact, and in the night, he watched Adult Swim. It was normal, with the colorful bumpers, but then it cut to black, with a weird logo, with the narrator saying that a future presentation was about to begin. The boy was hooked and decided to watch. It started with droplets of what looked like blood mixed with rain. Then it cut black to see a young character with eyes. You would have mistaken them to be an outlet. Then the camera panned up. It panned up more and zoomed more and more until what looked like a window or a mirror. But over the said object was another character. It was a ripoff of Santa. His eyes were so blue and glistening you could have mistaken them to be glass. He was standing right next to a table with an old record player. His hand was on the crank. He was pulling the crank over and over. Suddenly, he said a simple phrase.
Turn the crank.
He said the phrase over and over and over again until the record player finally gave out and broke. He then said,
No more must I turn the crank.
Suddenly, his eyes broke like glass and cut to black. And then cut with the same girl lying down on the street with the street full of glass. It must have been from the man's eyes. She was dead.
The lonesome girl has finally sank.
It then showed a picture of an hourglass, as if to tell the viewers that time was running out. The man then said,
She is perfectly fine. Now don't you fret. Thanks for watching my show, kids.
The boy then led a blood-curdling scream and woke up his dad. The dad then quickly got the remote and changed it to Adult Swim. The boy was really confused, as he swore he changed it to Adult Swim earlier. Did the TV change the channel itself? Or did something else happen? Suddenly, the TV said this. Number 23. White with Red. A young man went to sleep in a hotel one night. A young woman at the desk gave him his key, but told him that on the way to his room there was a door with no number that was locked, and no one was allowed in there, especially no one should look inside the room under any circumstances. So he followed the instructions of the woman at the front desk, going straight to his room and going to bed. The next day, his curiosity got the better of him. He decided to look into the keyhole secretly with no one watching, and what he saw was a young girl behind her back. She was all white. The man was about to knock on the door, but decided to not to. The next day, he decided to look into the keyhole one last time. The keyhole, instead, was blood red. He decided to consult the woman at the front of the desk for more information. She sighed and said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had. She said, "Well, I might as well tell you the story. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in their room, and her ghost haunts it. But these people were not ordinary. They were white all over, except for their eyes. Their eyes were red." Number 22. The Grifter. The Grifter is an alleged video that was first mentioned somewhere on 4chan's X image board. Watching it is said to be a soul-rendering experience, far more horrible than anything one could imagine. The few that have watched it are said to have been killed in their own homes, but with one thing in common: a doll hidden somewhere in their homes. There is a message by the end of the video in the constructed international auxiliary language Esperanto, and it says the following: "This child, now a young man, is still alive and lives in a local shelter whose name was not given. He never spoke and still is catatony." For those who don't know, catatony is an illness in which a person has abnormal flexibility and can hold a pose for longer than a few minutes. Number 21. Mariana Mordegard Glesgorv. There is a video on YouTube named Mariana Mordegard Glesgorv. If you search this, you will find nothing. The few times you find something, all you will see is a 20-second video of a man staring intently at you, expressionless, then grinning for the last 2 seconds. The background is undefined. That's only a 20-second part of the actual video. The full video lasts 2 minutes and was removed by YouTube after 153 people who viewed the video gouged out their eyes and mailed them to YouTube's main office in San Bruno. Said people had also committed suicide in various ways. It is not yet known how they managed to melt their eyes after gouging them out. The cryptic inscription they carved on their forearms has not yet identified. YouTube will periodically put up the first 20 seconds of the video to quell suspicions so that people do not go look for the real thing and upload it. The video itself was only viewed by one YouTube staff member who started screaming after 45 seconds. The man is now under constant sedation and is apparently unable to recall what he saw. The other people who were in the same room as him while he viewed it and turned off the video for him said that all he heard was a high-pitched drilling sound. None of them dared to look at the screen. They do not want you to find the full Mariana Mordegard Glesgorv video. Number 20. Happy Appy. This creepypasta is pretty lengthy, so I'll only do a brief summary. Happy Appy was an old and obscure Nick Jr. show that was taken off the air abruptly after only a few episodes, due to some of the episodes taking dark turns. The show involved a clay apple with a popsicle stick called Abby Appy, who would help kids with injuries. After only a few episodes, he formed a death stare. He also began to violently murder kids, implied from a dark screen. The show also predicted 9/11 years before it happened. Many consider this to be the most disturbing episode in the entire Happy Appy series. At one point, rubble hit one kid. All the kids tried to help him, but Happy Appy implied that it was natural, and they left him. He soon died. Something was not right with the show at all. Number 19. Lavender Town. Settle down now, Pokemon fans. You got yourself a creepypasta. One of the most known Pokemon creepypastas in the creepypasta community, Lavender Town is known for its really eerie music. However, rumor has it that children who reached Lavender Town back in 1996 in Japan committed suicide or had a really big illness over the eerie music. Note that this was during the beta sessions of the game. Programmers fixed the music after its release so that kids can no longer be affected by it. However, the beta version of the music is out there on YouTube, but I do not recommend listening to it. It will give you a large headache. Real quickly, I just want to point out that that was false. No children has ever committed suicide from Lavender Town. You are safe, you will not get ill or want to commit suicide when watching or listening to Lavender Town. Stay safe, kiddos. Number 18. The Grieving. This one hits close to home. This was the very first creepypasta I've ever read. The Grieving is a supposed real first episode of The Amazing World of Gumball. Unlike most episodes, this one was sad and intense. In the episode, The show's 12-year-old protagonist, Gumball, is standing alone in the corner of his dimly lit classroom, looking absolutely miserable. There was no one else in the room, not even his best friend and adopted brother, Darwin the goldfish, and the windows in the room clearly showed the night sky outside. This scene lasted for over a minute. Any devoted fan of the show would immediately notice something was not right. The scene changed, and we were in Gumball's house. Once again, the scene is silent and a little disquieting. Richard, Gumball's enormous rabbit father, walks in from the kitchen. He looked even more miserable than Gumball in the previous scene. He wasn't even wearing his usual attire. He's dressed in a fancy black suit, a little uncharacteristic of him. The most notable thing in this scene was that he's crying very intensely. It was clear he lost someone in his life who was dear to him. The door opened, and Gumball's mother, Nickel, a blue cat like him, stepped in. Like Richard, she wasn't wearing her usual outfit. For some reason, she was in a black dress and was wearing a pretty black hat to match. She sat down on the couch to comfort her husband, although she was looking a bit saddened herself. By this point, Richard's crying had become to get more pained and miserable sounding. This wasn't the normal cartoon crying on the show. This was realistic and almost depressing crying. It wasn't he who lost someone. They lost someone. Probably in the family. The episode then gets extremely psychotic. It is unknown what is happening at this point. Then it showed extreme details of all their children dismantled. They were dead. And Gumball committed suicide by hanging himself. The episode then showed the happy credits, as if nothing ever happened. The episode never aired. The writer who saw this episode never knew what he just watched. He was horrified. Then the episode ended. Number 17, Mr. Mix. Mr. Mix was an old, obscure typing PC game. The game itself is described to be acting very weirdly, as it has patterns of growls in the first level, as shown here. In the second level, shown here, no sound is played whatsoever, as if the music was muted. Just plain silence. The third level, which was impossible to beat, had a sound which sounded like a hairdryer. The fourth level was when things started to act really strange. It was even more sped up, and the sound was what sounded like a high-pitched phone ringing. The fifth level was the exact same thing as the fourth level, only this time, the game would crash your computer if you were to complete the fifth level. The sixth level, the final one, had unspeakable insanity in it. You know what, I'll let this video speak for itself. The game would then store files on your computer during the sixth level. Anyone would have deleted them, even if they deleted one file, would break the computer beyond repair. Some hackers, whose names were not given, played the full game in its entirety. They were horrified. But recently, one of the hackers were found in an attempt to kidnap a little girl. When interrogated, he would only say one thing, and one thing only.
I'm Mr. Mix.
Number 16. Barbie Not AVI. The story follows a man who found an old and abandoned computer outside his apartment. In the computer, there was a file called Barbie Not AVI. The video is highly distorted to the point where you cannot hear what it's saying. The video seems to have a young girl being interviewed, but the more the interviewer started to ask questions, the more she felt saddened and uncomfortable. This went on until she started to cry so intensely she couldn't even speak. She simply sunk her head down, and the video faded to black. He soon then went into a scene with a pair of legs walking along a couple of train tracks. The man recognized the train tracks and came to it and led to an abandoned home. Everything in the home was unlocked except for that of the basement, and all the furniture there was way too new to be there. Suddenly, he heard a loud moan and ran out from a window. He soon then suggested it was probably a water pipe. But then again, why would water be in an abandoned home? Number 15. Mario. Mario was a strange Super Mario World ROM hack from the SMW Central. The hack itself came with two files, the ROM hack and a .txt file with nothing but nonsense, but with one phrase repeating itself. Find me. The ROM hack also was very peculiar, and it was missing almost all the enemies in almost all of the stages, and it had very strange ways of beating them. However, one thing to note is that in the game's climax, and in the text box, it detailed an apparent murder scene with gruesome detailing. The ROM hack would end with Mario sinking all the way to the bottom like a pipe, and then it cut to black. Soon later, one person had the brilliant idea of converting the TXT file into an image file. Everyone then safely assumed that the image was victim number 1. Number 14. God's Mouth. A man and a woman began to explore a highly forbidden cave. They ignored the warnings that was in front of the entrance. Then they became separated. The man was trying to find the way out. However, he realized he was trapped in a small corner. He cried and accepted his mortality. Then, just before his flashlight went out, a red hand could be seen as God's mouth devoured another victim. Number 13. No End House. There apparently exists a house called No End House, and if you pass through all of its 9 rooms, you get a $500 reward. But be careful, this house pushes the physical and mental limitations of those brave enough to enter. Be careful, you may not make it out of there. Number 12. Abandoned by Disney. There was an island in Baker's Bay, Bahamas, known as Treasure Island, and was soon abandoned by Disney. $30 million down the drain. One individual ventured down the eerie dark park to explore. He found a locked door with a sign that said, "Mascots only. Thank you." Readying his camera, he braced himself and entered the room. Various Disney costumes were hung up on the wall, and the room seemed like people were in a hurry to evacuate it. One interesting thing to note was that there was a photo negative Mickey costume lying on the floor. He was about to take a photograph of it, but a split second before he took the photo, it sprung to life. The Mickey costume asked a simple question.
Want to see my head come off?
Big, fat, chunky yellow blood spilled out as he was lifting his head up. The photographer ran out, and he saw the last sign, which said, "Abandoned by God." They didn't want anyone like him coming in. They didn't want anything like that coming out.
Bendrowned. Bendrowned follows the tale of a young man who finds a Majora's Mask cartridge in a garage sale. After playing it, everything is not what it seems, and it's revealed to be haunted by the ghost of a boy named Ben. In his ghostly state, he would mess with the game's files. This creepypasta is one of the most known in gaming genre, and it's pretty overrated. Most people think it's one of the lamest creepypastas out there due to it following many tropes seen in bad pastas. Luckily, nobody really cares about Bendrowned anymore. That's not to say it's been forgotten, as some people still think it's one of the best creepypastas around. Come on guys, it's been almost a decade. It's time to move on.
Number 10, Max and Ruby, episode 0004. I'm pretty sure you guys know about this one, especially because I made a film about it. If you don't know about this creepypasta, I suggest you should watch the film. That would bring you up to speed, because I don't even feel like talking about it again. Number 9, Smile Dog. This story involves an amateur writer who goes to a lady's house who supposedly has a story that he can borrow from. However, by the time he came into her house, she was locked up to a room, crying. She was crying, screaming, ranting about various problems she had. All of this centered around a floppy disk. The disk contained one image, smile.jpg. This image drives insanity to those who view it. But to drive the insanity away, they must spread the word, meaning they must share the image to numerous of people. If they don't, the image gets worse. Smile Dog will come into your dreams demanding you to spread the word. Even though no original image of it is on the internet, there are some similar ones. Most famously, this one. Number 8, Suicide Mouse. Like Max and Ruby, I already checked this one out. It's in my first episode of Is It Real, so go check that out on my channel if you haven't watched it. Number 7, Tails Doll. Whoa, wait a minute, MTE. You love Tails Doll? Allow me to explain, young Padawan. I do hate Tails Doll, like, a lot. But the story I find it fascinating, along with the rumors, claiming that rumor has it if you play Can You Feel the Sunshine in the bathroom backwards, you'll summon Tails Doll, whatever. I still find that fascinating. I tried it myself. It didn't work. Go check out the video if you haven't seen it yet. Number 6, Candle Cove. A group of users was in a network discussing about a show they were called watching
That's one
from
whale of a
the early
storm.
70s called
We
Candle
better run
Cove.
and hide.
The more they discussed, the more they remembered. They remembered the antagonist of the show, the skin taker, would take skin from children to wear in his body.
It's
However,
Bravery
they all remembered
Cave.
one specific episode, which the rest of the whole episode was plain
I'm not
screaming
brave.
Oh,
and
yes,
showing
you
a
are.
girl crying
You just
constantly.
don't know it yet.
One user
You
then
have
confronted
to
their mother
go
and asked them why they were allowed to watch such a horrible
I'm
show.
scared, Laughing
The
Stock.
mother was actually surprised.
There's something in there.
She told him that he
There
used
sure
to
is,
stare
pirate
at a
person.
static TV,
Don't you
claiming
want
that
some
he was watching
treasure?
his favorite pirate show.
Sure.
Well,
Number 5. Pokemon Lost Silver. A college student purchases a cartridge of Pokemon Silver from his local GameStop. However, it's been turned out that the cartridge was haunted, hacked. Strange occurrences happen throughout its gameplay, such as Pokemon's claiming that they have died rather than fainted, music playing backwards, and sometimes beheaded Pokemon trainers. This creepypasta is one of my favorites out there because it has a fascinating story. Plus, the gameplay is really intriguing to watch. Even though I've watched the gameplay so many times, I still love it every time I watch it. Number 4. The Rake. The Rake is a very popular creepypasta about a very abnormal humanoid who would attack its victims. And I want to say that she and her husband woke up to find a very abnormal human laying down on their bed. The Rake then went across the husband's face for about 30 seconds until he ran into the room where he killed the husband and the wife's kid. The daughter's last words were, "He is the Rake." Number 3. Herobrine. The story is fascinating, please don't judge me. A user wanted to play single-player Minecraft, but throughout his survival, he noticed a figure with no eyes. The figure then vanished before the user could get up to him. Soon later, he discovered other discrepancies, such as pyramids, 2x2 valleys and caves, and more. He tried to discuss the matter in the Minecraft forum, but then it was deleted. When he tried to make the second one, it was deleted, but then was a message sent to him from Herobrine, which said, "Stop." Soon later, people emailed the users saying that they have also discovered the Herobrine figure, and it was soon later to be revealed not his brother. Despite the story being one of the most overrated creepypastas of all time, and Minecraft users trying to claim that Herobrine is real, this creepypasta led a big impact on the creepypasta and Minecraft community. This creepypasta will go down in the history books. Number 2. The Russian Sleep Experiment. This creepypasta is so known, people have claimed it to be one of the best creepypastas ever written, but that's highly subjective. Anyways, I think you guys already know about this one, cause it's so well known. Here's just a quick summary. This story takes place in the middle of the 1940s in the Soviet Union, where 5 people were chosen as test subjects and were to remain awake in a room for about 30 days from gas. These 5 people soon became extremely insane. They all ate themselves, committed self-cannibalism, and many more disgusting things. Soon later, they died. This creepypasta is my second favorite creepypasta of all time. My number 1 favorite is coming up now. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Number 1. Misfortune.gb. Misfortune is a scary game for the original Game Boy, since no known hard copies or ROMs exist. All information about the game is derived from personal accounts and a scant assemblage of screenshots. Even the nerdiest of Nintendo fan people don't have Misfortune. The player controls a young boy in a strange gothic building. After brief exploring, the player is confronted by a malevolent being. Despite the character never identifying himself, some people claim that there are similarities to Baphomet, Beelzebub, or a demon. Upon confronting the creature, a dialogue box appears saying, "I exist within the very fabric of reality. Do you want to challenge me?" If the player chose yes, then they would be teleported in a strange room. Then he says, "Choose wrong and misfortune will befall your loved ones. Are you ready to play?" Should the player ever make a mistake throughout the game, the screen will cut to black, and the dialogue box will be reading, "I am God here," in what appears to be blood-styled writing. People who have played the game claim to say there are side effects when losing, such as misfortune on them, depression, or insanity, most likely from the game's soundtracks, which people said is the scariest game ever made. Here's a clip of the game in its entirety. Oh my, seems we have reached the 50-minute mark. 47 to be specific, just rounding. This was a huge struggle for me to make, and I had to delay it even further because of many personal things happening in my life. But I finished it. Thank you guys for watching, comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!